Welcome to the Essence of Homeschooling podcast, brought to you by the umbrella school, Start Academy. We empower and equip you to cultivate the authentic homeschool lifestyle where freedom and relationships rule.
Welcome back to the Essence of Homeschooling. We have Kim and Stacy and myself, Michelle, here today. And we're going to start a new series where we talk about curriculum. And we're going to go through the grade levels and the age levels from early elementary, later elementary, middle school, and high school to hopefully give you some ideas on how to do that. We're going to start with our youngest people, but before we ever talk about curriculum, we're going to talk about the importance of your presence in their lives. It's so important to establish a healthy relationship with your children that is based on mutual love and trust, based upon your presence, and the foundation that you build in that relationship is what is going to establish your homeschool. But more than that, it's going to establish your children and grant them success throughout life. I used to always say that children need something to love, something to do, and something to think about. And so we may drop some ideas on how we can help them explore and imagine and continue to grow in their sense of wonder. What kind of ways do we help our kids, our little kids, grow in their relationship with us that they can trust us and that they know we're going to be present?
A big thing I think is reading. We talk about that so much here. We all love books here. And of course, with your littles, it starts with the board books or even those ones that are made out of plastic so they can chew on them safely. And it's just that feeling of nurturing, that bonding, that coziness, that let's sit on the couch and cuddle, read those books together, and that reading is just a part of your life. It's part of who you are as individuals and as a family. And you're using those picture books in a way as a kind of curriculum. So we hear that a lot when people looking for curriculum for their tiny people. And sometimes we think, oh my goodness, you don't need a curriculum. But really, if we rethink that and redefine the word there, we can use picture books, board books, little books like that for our little ones as a type of curriculum. Because what are the things that they need when they're little, right? They need learn things like their shapes and their colors and things like that. And I think of the book Brown Bear, What Do You See? And they're learning things about colors, they're learning about what to expect, anticipating things, remembering, and obviously animals and things like that. So we can definitely use books of all kinds when they're really little as a kind of curriculum.
And books are fun because when they show an interest in a certain topic, or like they keep coming back to the horse and Brown Bear, what do you see?
Yeah.
Go to the library and get more books on the horses. Go outside, and if you live in the country, go find some horses. If you don't, you can go to stables and you can show them horses, right? Play on their interests and go with that because you're feeding into something they can think about, something you're doing together, and something that they're naturally loving in that animal. And any book can be a jumping off place to learn. I remember with my 3-year-old, somehow he really liked this one rocket book we read over and over again because he was never bored of it. And it also helped, that repetition helped him learn what was coming, what was on each page, things like that. But when he was 3, we were shooting off little rockets with Alka-Seltzer because he just started to want to know everything about space that was at his age level. So you play with it, and that with every book there is, you can play with those books and create math and science and language arts out of that. But let it be organic and natural as opposed to such a sit down time. It's okay if they don't want to read the book again. They may want to go outside and explore nature.
Or if it's just not what they're interested in. I remember getting a lot of books about cars and trucks because I had boys. What if they weren't interested in that? You move on, and that's okay. You're learning your child as a little human being what they're interested in, and that's just part of it. What grabs them, what draws them in, captures their attention, like your son with the rocket.
And that also supports their independence when they get to make those decisions.
Yes.
Actually, that's a really big thing too, in thinking about it is how to help them with their independence. It's okay to let them have choices. And sometimes you help guide those choices by only giving them three options
Hmm.
because then it doesn't really matter, but let them establish their independence and let them begin to understand that they have interests distinct from you because they will. They're a completely different human being. And so it's important that while you have certain boundaries and they learn those boundaries, because that's so important, especially if you're considering homeschooling for any length of time, but even just as a parent, establishing yourself as an authority, but a loving presence that knows what boundaries are, healthy boundaries, is going to help your child as well.
Absolutely.
We did something when my kids were little, really little. This was just preschool, is we started an afternoon, or I guess it was in the morning because nap time would get in the way. So we started a morning neighborhood get together where it was arts and crafts time. I'd start with a book and then we'd do a craft around the book and then we'd do playtime. But we did it all outside because there's something refreshing about being outside and calming in that great outdoors. So there's ways to connect with other people. And so the kids, they played side by side with each other, or they did see how someone else made a placemat with stickers and they're like, "Oh, I like that one." And so they would do some of the same things. So it was a way to get together with other people who also had preschoolers. It was a way for just early learning and it was a way to be outside.
I think getting outside in nature can check a lot of boxes for preschoolers, toddlers, even older kids, of course. But when you're out in nature, you can learn organically by what you touch, what you hear, what you smell. You can have a structured nature walk where you're looking for insects or leaves, anything. You can just go on a walk and talk. When you're walking side by side out in nature, you're breathing fresh air, you're getting some sun, you're getting some exercise. Sometimes kids will open up a little bit more. But even in the younger years, just getting them out into nature, even if it's snow or whether it's a fall walk, all the different times, it can support their learning. And it can also support your relationship. It can give them a foundation that they can associate learning with love and with time with you when you're focusing on them in that time. It's easier to do it when you're out of your house and you don't see the laundry and the dishes and all the things that you should do as a mom.
Mhm.
That was always hard for me. It was easier when I was out in nature.
Yes.
Good for your own mental health.
Yes.
Definitely.
Scavenger hunts are fun.
And just letting them enjoy the variety of rocks that are around the mailbox. Just looking at that, I started to learn that if I really wanted to be a good parent, I actually couldn't care about how long it took to get anything done. Some things, right, have to get done, but those could be done while my child was napping, when my husband was home, or different things like that. But if my kid wanted to look at the rocks for 20 minutes because he enjoyed it, he was fascinated, he found something different, I could look at rocks with him too,
Mhm.
right? Or I could look at my mail if I had to. But one of those things where you can be out with them and you can enjoy, because looking at the world through a child's eyes opens up our own wonder and our own sense of exploration, and we start to see things in a new way. And it reminds us that this world is actually pretty amazing and full of beauty and things that we want to know more about, and not so much yeah, there's still the hard stuff, but seeing through a child's eyes helps open that wonder up again.
Helps you slow down too, which I think is good for all of us.
And when they're sitting there and looking at the rocks and you're thinking about everything you need to do, but you give them your time and your attention and you talk about the rocks and you hug on them and you love them, you're giving them respect. Respect of
Mhm.
their opinion, respect of the relationship that you're building. And I think children naturally respond and thrive on respect and love.
Very good point.
Excellent. And that's again going back to establishing that healthy, trusting, loving relationship, right? If you show them that they are worthy of respect and honor and love, they are able to pass that on to others as well. And it comes out naturally. And of course, playtime, right? Playtime is really important for kids. You can direct the playtime, but even unstructured playtime, I remember my kids finding out that toys could do things I never would have thought they would do, because they fidget with it in a way like, that truck doesn't do that. And they're like, what if it could? And then it can.
We
So instead of me telling them everything, how to do it, for them to come up with ideas on how to do it was also really important.
Welcome to Start Academy. We are an umbrella school that fulfills legal reporting requirements for homeschoolers in Colorado. But all of our services like transcripts, diplomas, IDs, and coaching are available no matter where you live. Don't forget to check out our store for homeschool essentials like attendance logs, planners, report cards, and DIY high school transcripts. Whether you need help with paperwork, planning, support, or guidance on your homeschool journey, Start Academy is here to support you. Visit theumbrellaschool.com to learn more.
And I'm reminded that it was the famous psychologist Jean Piaget who said, play is the work of children. And wasn't it Maria Montessori who launched her whole school based upon this principle? Is that if play is the work of children and they imitate what you do, why not give them a little kitchen where they can play just like watching mommy and daddy cook? Or give them little tools so they can work with the tools like mommy and daddy work with the tools. Fixing a car, fixing the house, whatever.
And she really stressed letting your child concentrate
Mm,
when they get those tools or whatever it is that they're doing. One of her big points was letting them concentrate, because concentration is how they build their personality and how they learn later on. And so it's really hard as a mom sometimes not to interrupt and say, "Oh, I see you're using that. Oh, why don't you try using?" And we always have ideas. Maria Montessori would say, "Step back, let the child be when they're in their concentration, because that's a building block for the future, what you're creating, what they're creating in their minds."
Fascinating.
She had some great ideas.
she
Mhm.
really did. Super helpful.
Reminds me too of Mr. Rogers. His saying that play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning. But for children, play is serious learning. I always like that quote.
I do too. He had some good ideas. I've realized too that it's okay for you as the parent to be bored. Realize your preschooler's not bored. There's too much to look at, too much to do, too much to think about when there's books in front of them, toys in front of them, nature in front of them. It may not be the play we like to do or we can still do. When my kids got older, I started to tell them, guess what? I can't do imagination with you. I can read a book, but I can't really play house unless I'm making dinner. I'll play house. But these were the things I was like, I don't have the same imagination you do, but go and use your imagination. But I'll read to you, I'll play games with you, I'll do puzzles, I'll go outside, whatever you want that way. But when it comes to imagination, grow it, use it, but your stuffed animals are really good for that one. And then, of course, for our little people, just these are the natural things we establish in our homes anyway, is we have to eat, they need to eat, right? The regular snack times, meal times, and those are times where you're also building relationship. And of course, the healthy eating, you're giving them the nutrients for their body and their brain. But knowing that you're present while they're eating, that you're eating together, because eating is a very social thing to do, having meals together and having that time without technology, with sure songs in the background, whatever, or make up your own. But having the time at the meals is really important to do with your kids as well. And just a natural way you're establishing yourself as reliable by giving the things they need and also sometimes setting those boundaries for the things that taste good but aren't what they need.
And meals together build those social skills in general, learning how to bounce conversations back and forth, to listen, to ask questions, to wait for the answer, and learning how to do that as a family. Back a long time ago, and in some cultures and times and places, it was at the table, children are to be seen and not heard. And I guess certainly you want your kids to be mannered as far as that goes, but you definitely want to include them in the conversations and more as they grow up. Even the little people, "Oh, do you like your broccoli?" "Yes, no?" And just having those fun little conversations. And then obviously anything to do with the meal and healthy eating in general, that's gonna be nutrition. You can call it school if you want, you can call it a kind of curriculum, but you're just living your daily life. You're living that homeschool lifestyle where you're just enjoying your kids, you're enjoying your family time together, and it happens to be around food. And and you can turn that into all sorts of lessons. It can be
Mhm.
counting, it can be colors and shapes, obviously nutrition, like I said. So all sorts of things. So lots of good stuff there.
And I like how you brought up too is learning that social skill of taking a turn in a conversation. Part of establishing the foundation for your little people to prepare them even for a curriculum, for school, is their character training. S- They practicing sharing, it matters. Practicing your manners, right? These are things that are going to help them when they get into more schoolwork. We all have had those projects we've had to work as on a team with. And
Mm.
so having those where they know how to share, they know their manners, they know to be kind. It's really important.
And all of those things, as they're learning how to do those, it comes from a place of self control, learning how to control themselves, their thoughts, their words, their actions, which obviously self control touches on just everything in life.
Everything.
And you can capitalize on your child's natural bent towards helping you.
Mhm.
Most children like to be a helper. They like to sense that what they're doing contributes to the family, and they like to feel that they're important.
Yeah. That they matter. Their place in the family matters, which of course it does.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And even though we know that and we think they should know that, they still need to hear it from us and they need to see it from us through our act.
Yeah.
And a good way to do that is they can help you sort laundry,
Mhm.
right? Because it has to get done. And so when they learn that you do lights and darks, what are the different piles those go in? And then we used to, when it was all clean, we'd dump it in the middle of the floor and everybody had a different section that we'd throw their clothes to that section of the room, right? Or their laundry basket of here's yours. So it became a tossing of laundry game. But at least it's time together and you're getting something done that needs to get done.
You're building fine motor skills, gross motor skills. You can talk about patterns and colors,
Mhm.
all sorts of things with just those daily life activities.
Like sorting the silverware,
Yes.
you
And
know?
like Stacy said, reminding them, "Oh, thank you. That was such a big help. Oh, you blessed me. You really helped the family out." We even actually, when we would give them chores, we called them their family job, just to emphasize it's not a chore per se. It's this is how you're helping the family.
I love it. Makes them feel like they're a part of something.
Yes. Which we all want to be.
And they're building skills and aptitudes that they'll use for their whole life. Adults need to know how to sort laundry, how to sort the silverware, how to be kind, how to interact with a family member, all those things. So we are, as Michelle says, raising little humans, and they need to learn those skills from us.
And that's the time with them, right? Again, this is all the natural ways of spending time as a family, as a parent with your little people. These are things that have to get done, but these are the ways you can do it to make it fun and establish yourself as the one they can trust. And it matters. You've heard it from us in the past in different podcasts of how important it is to have these trusting, loving bonds with your kids because you want them coming back to you when they're in high school, not going, "Oh no, this bad thing happened. I can't talk to my parent," but, "Oh no, this bad thing happened. I got to call my mom."
Right.
I and that's established in your family from the beginning. So these ways you pour into your little people are really going to matter for their lives. They need your presence. Wasn't it Colleen who just said, "How do kids spell love?" Time.
Yes. And being that trustworthy person in their lives,
Mhm.
super important. Start that right off the bat.
And when you keep your word to them,
Mm.
you say you're going to do something, you do it.
Mhm.
It's establishing, again, a foundation for their future relationships, how they will act and how they know that they should receive.
Mhm.
I think the spiritual side of things and letting them see you act out and live out your faith, whatever that looks like in your life and your family. I know growing up, I always saw my mom reading her Bible, and that made an impression on me, even as a young child. And what are your habits as a family in terms of that? Do you go to church every Sunday, or what are your habits? And raising your children to know that there is this other side of who they are as human beings, and to know their creator, and beyond you as the parent, where do they go? What is the ultimate authority
Mm.
in their lives as well? To know, why do we do what we do? Why do we believe what we believe? And how does that look in everyday life? And even Little children can pick up on those things, even if it's just an attitude. They can't verbalize it, but those attitudes, they sink in deep.
One
Well,
area we haven't talked about yet is technology.
Mm.
Technology for preschoolers. And I know that the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that kids under 24 months completely avoid screens.
Mhm.
And then at that point, research is lacking about what screens are doing or not doing to children. I think the final decision is years away, and we're all learning right now through being raised and raising generations with screens, whereas before we didn't have that. I think it would be judicious to limit screens, especially in younger ones, for some of the reasons that we've already outlined. If children learn through playing and doing and touching and feeling and trying to build that tower and seeing it fall over and over until they realize, if I widen the base, maybe my tower will last and it can go higher. You don't get those experiences on a tablet. You're missing human interaction. You're missing the family playtime, the family dinner time if you're on a tablet. I think it's just something that we need to be cautious about, especially for the little ones. Under age 5, I think, is where the American Academy of Pediatrics says between 2 to 5, especially limit, and none under 2.
I think that's really important because it says something about the importance of active play as opposed to passive play. But even reading a book is an active form of play, even if they're listening to it. But sitting and watching something, their brains are being told what to think and how to think and being trained in a passive way, not the active learning of childhood. And so the idea is to keep them actively learning as best you can. Plus, kids actually have to learn how to play on their own and actually learn how, we would call it being bored, but I don't think little ones get bored because they will find wonder in a stick, right? They will find wonder in a bunny that you didn't even notice. They will find wonder in your wallet, just how it opens and closes, whatever it is, whatever is around them, they'll find wonder in it and they'll explore that. But as soon as a screen is on, we've all seen it with little kids, that they stop and often turn their attention to what's on the screen because everything's moving and fast. And why wouldn't they? It's a natural thing to do. But it is really important for their little brains to have that active play as opposed to the passive learning from a screen.
The University of Michigan did a study on digital devices to soothe young children. And they actually found that when you use a device to soothe the child, and in the study was between ages 3 and 5, it's associated with increased emotional dysregulation because of exactly what you were just saying, Michelle. They're not able to actually work through the emotions that they're feeling and to use coping skills. They're just seeing that by the use of the tablet, the TV, whatever, to get them to stop fussing.
And then from that, you miss out on that time with your kids. You miss out on the time where you actually could be picking them up and hugging them and holding them when they're fussy, when you could be establishing the bonds of a loving parent and of a present parent. Truthfully, homeschooling is presence. It's a lifestyle of presence in your family.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. We hope that you enjoyed the conversation and found it insightful. Be sure to check out today's show notes for all applicable links and additional resources. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Your support helps us continue to bring you great content. Until next time, happy homeschooling.